Hi, this is Alan Shea, and we are here today at the 2019 AT&T Shape event here at Warner Brothers Studios. So stay with us.
Help him out, he got it, there you go. Come on, yeah, you got it. Do a Rocky style. Rocky was a big movie in the 70s, you got it. Looks like the long stunt double. Come on, man. Yeah. Oh, there.
If anyone has a vision for the future, this woman is going to share it with you viewers, starting with, let's talk about Riot first of all. Give them a little bit about how did you come up with that, and why were you selected to be one of the speakers today here at Warner Brothers?
Do you mind if I just backtrack a little bit?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Karen Palmer, and I'm the storyteller from the future. And I've come back to enable you to survive what is to come through the power of storytelling. I create immersive documentaries from the future that makes you aware of the society in which we're moving into, so that you can at least not say that you didn't know it was coming. And part of the first phase of my immersive documentaries of the future was an experience called Riot. Riot is the film that watches you back using artificial intelligence and facial recognition. So basically you watch the film and the narrative will branch in real time depending on your emotions. So if you watch the film and you're angry, the narrative will branch in one way, and if you're fearful, it will branch in another.
Your stories don't reflect back a sense of consciousness, and your social media networks have designed to maintain your interest through antagonizing you, because that maintains more of a stronger interest and screen time. So this is why I created Riot. Riot is an emotionally responsive film that watches you as you watch it. The narrative branches in real time depending on your emotion. So if you're calm, the narrative will branch in one direction, and if you're fearful, it will branch in another.
To viewers, because now we're getting very specific. We're talking about AI. So why don't you share with the viewers, how did you determine the algorithm or the analytics that gave you the response?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So I work with artificial intelligence and facial recognition and machine learning. And what it is that I worked with Brunel University London to create a system where we developed it from scratch. So normally most people use existing data sets and algorithms, but we designed our own so that we could come to an understanding of how they're built. And we came to the understanding that most systems are built with bias. So we created what we perceived as a neutral system that was mathematical, that was making that you could kind of look at points in your face that if you were perceived as being angry externally, that's what would happen. But at the same time, most AI is quite a bias, which means that the developer who creates it is going to be putting their own perception of the world into the code.
Before you go into the Riot installation, you're met with a Riot cop, a real person dressed in a Riot uniform. This person will start to prime you by asking certain questions. He will just ask, are you here for Riot? You'll probably answer yes. He'll ask then, have you got any weapons on you? You'll probably say no, hopefully. Then he'll say, have you got anything that can be used as a weapon? That's when people start to become a bit more engaged. People in the past have, if I'm at a conference, they've got a glass, they may say my glass. If they have their phone, knowing that can be weaponized, they may say my mobile. And I had one lady said her mind. Strongest weapon of all. Then you step into the reality construct, where it's got you see the film, it's projected and it's watching you, and the webcam there is monitoring your emotions. You're surrounded by light, haze, the scent of being in a riot, and you have debris from a riot all around you, the dustbin there. It's like the film has spilled out of the screen. And it's the ultimate gaming interface. You don't need your fingers, it's just your emotions. What I'm going to play you now is an extract from the film at the first level, and then you're going to see the 3 potential different narratives you can have, but you only have one. And you're going to see afterwards the three people commenting on their narratives.
Wonderland, show them what you got. Y'all call that the chiropractor? That's what that's called? The old people, oh, RoboCop, okay, because the old people, we do this, hey, I'm going to the chiropractor. All right.
Wow, so now let's take it a little bit deeper, because now we are talking about biases, we're talking about facial recognition. How are we going to get this out to society to see that it's not science, but it is really theoretical theory now that's ready to be practiced in our society? Because from what we're hearing, and most people think of AI as stuff they see on TV. But if it's going to become part of our society, there's going to be some educating implementation that goes into play. So why don't you share with the viewers what that process is going to have to consist of for people to be ready for this?
I think it's really important for people to understand how bias is actually already here. So at the moment, there's a system called the compass system, which judges use as part of the criminal justice system to discern the length of a prison sentence for criminals. However, this system has been proven to be biased against people of color and black people, which means it gives them longer sentences than white people. Because what happens is the people who create these algorithms, they're biased, and there's no transparency with the systems that they're creating, so we can't see that. There's also cases with Amazon that they had a recruitment tool. It wasn't a decision-making recruitment tool. From what my research has said is that it would support a decision maker. So if somebody wasn't, it would help someone shortlist candidates. But what happened is the HR tool was actually biased towards women. Are you familiar with this, right?
Yes.
And it was, for 2 years, it didn't recruit one damn woman, right? And what it was, I'll tell you how that worked, is that the person who created the system, they took a man's CV and they dissected it and they put the data next to it that this is the perfect candidate. However, men use different terminology than women. So a man might say led a team, or, I charged. Men tend to traditionally be more active, so more action orientated, where women might tend to say, I collaborated. So for 2 years, it just wasn't measuring a woman's terminology with success, so they weren't recruited.
Wake up! Wake up! No civilians are supposed to be here. Leave immediately! I said, leave immediately! Leave immediately!
And just seeing that cop screaming and thinking that it could be my child, my black child, who one day may incite fear just because of the color of his skin, just got me so angry, and I guess it just registered.
It was scary to be shot at, and which then led me to, be detained by the police officer, actually. The fact that that's how it is in a real situation. You react scared and it escalates, and then you become pushed into a position where then suddenly you're criminalized or something.
Leave. Not right now.
In any situation, I normally stay calm, so even though there were distractions and things, but for me, my instinct is to go calmer and breathe and calm myself down.
Oh, running man. Here we go. We've been waiting on the sidelines all night. Oh! Dancing into another galaxy with this joint. There we go. Uh-oh.
So let's break this down even more, because the more you're giving this to the viewers, Karen, if I may call you that, it almost sounds like they can almost profile you through your computer. Through the use, through the products, through the conversation.
That is true, but that's a slightly different conversation.
Okay.
Because with the case of the examples I was giving, they were more like validating the information you give. In terms of profile you through your computer, okay, let's put it this way. There's been many cases where people have like said, oh, I want to go on holiday to, say, somewhere like Tunisia. And then they've gone on their computer and the computer's given them advertisements for Tunisia. I know people that this has personally happened to. That's with this exact example. And he said to me, I didn't touch anything, but I had my phone on the table, right? So when you say can go in, can read you, we're moving towards a society of what I have phrased as auto self-surveillance, where much of the things around us is surveilling us by our own option, our own choice. So why I'm bringing these stories up and you're asking these good questions is because I'm creating immersive experiences with these themes in mind. So my next project is Consensus Gentium, which is Latin for if everybody believes it, it must be true. You know that? Yes. How do you know that?
I teach this.
Really? That's really impressive. You know how much black people know about Latin blood? This is very good. You've got to listen to this guy's show. So what it is that I'm showing you that what I'm trying to flip and show you is we're living in a world where lots of people is believing something's true and they're going with it, but there's more to reality and your perception of reality than that. So I want to put you in my immersive experience of a near future world where we have weaponized tech, we have auto self-surveillance, and we have biased networks, because I need you to understand that this is the future that we're moving into unless you become aware and want to do something about it. So I'm doing this through the power of storytelling.
Wow.
And here's a short video that's going to show you the intensity of the impact on the participant. Because these experiences using storytelling and tech affecting people on a whole new neurological level, and it's creating a huge emotional reaction.
Let me tell you why this is so great. This is just one room. It's less than 100 square feet. Yet we're able to use sensory and video, lights, the smells, the textures of this on the ground. It all brings you to the world and you're completely immersed. Even though we're not in a riot. You're in a riot right here. Not in a riot, in a riot.
Riot oftentimes is destructive to the people who are fighting for justice. You know, because we were allowed to only do these things inside our own communities and break things in the world and broke into the
Your hand started going in and out like this, then your chest puffed up, then the back of your neck just
falls
flickered.
in like machine mode. Like I will do anything to achieve my mission and protect my people.
So it was both very powerful and vulnerable.
Okay, then why don't I see what's what? And then I can always come back for the second part.
I immediately watching being a witness to what was happening.
I mean, either way.
So I factor in an emotional decompression component to all my artificial intelligence or storytelling and tech experiences.
And bring this to implementation, because AT&T invited you to be a speaker today and share with the viewers and the guests that attended today's event. Why did AT&T invite you, and what did AT&T expect of you to make sure is implemented for those viewers that you had at your presentation today?
That is a really interesting question. So, things are a bit weird with me in terms of I am asked to speak all over the world. Like last year I did 23 talks in 20 countries. My social media is really lame because I'm so busy. What happens is that people tend to be in a room, watch me talk, and then go and tell somebody else, like he went and told you. and then somebody else calls me. It's like everything I get is through word of mouth. And ANTT contacted me because somebody recommended me. I didn't ask them.
How you interact with the world is more based upon perception and actual facts and information. And I think it's very important for us to have a much more collective sense of understanding. And that's not going to come through information, that's going to come through perception. So with the spam department at NYU, their focus is very much on how your perception of reality is influenced by your emotions, your goals, and your background, and how that influences the information that comes to you. So I'm going to give you an example of the type of work we're doing as an extension of the subconscious storytelling. We can look at how somebody looks at a screen and where their eye tracking looks on a screen, and we can determine if they're racist or not, if they're biased or not. I'm going to tell you how. When we show in her lab, she shows people footage of police brutality. If the person is empathetic with the person being brutalized, their eye tracking will go to the person at the bottom of the screen, and they will go, oh, they will be like, viscerally like, oh, they can feel what's happening. If the person, however, is more empathetic with the cop, their eye tracking will go to that part of the screen. That's why people literally are looking at two different things where they're coming up with two different perceptions.
You hear from yeah, okay.
So that's a really good question. It's really hard for me to discern why people bring me to do these talks, but I can guarantee you that what they get, they're not expecting. Because this was, I mean, I'm very privileged to be at AT&T. It's a very, very strong brand. I don't know if they knew what they were getting into with me, because it was quite a radical talk. But the thing is that it's generated a big buzz. Like, I've been here for like 2.5 hours. I haven't been able to move because people keep coming up to me and talking to me. So sometimes I'm just like, whatever's conspired to bring me to a place, even the person that asked me to be here, they've left the company. I don't know how I end up in half these places. I go, how do you, because it's not for my social media, how did you get me here? They're like, somebody recommended you. I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. So I don't know, I can't tell you. I don't know if it's because of the AI, I don't know if it's because of diversity, I don't know what it is. But nobody really knows what I'm bringing, because it's like hard to describe. And not all my talks is online. So I have no idea. I just say that something, even I ask myself in the hotel, how the hell did I get here? But I just say it's always something bigger is guiding me to be where I am. Because even today, to be honest, I was asked the lady who worked here, hey, could you connect me up with some AT&T, big people, before I leave? And then when I came here, I ended up chatting to just you guys for like 3 hours. And I was like, yeah, this is who I'm supposed to talk to. I'll try and speak to some business connects tomorrow. I feel that today I've got to connect with people because I need to get my message out there. And that's more important today than, maybe that's what I came here to do, was to bring my message to the people then.
You're going to be inside the world of weaponized tech, auto surveillance, and biased networks, and you're going to see if you like it. And if you don't like it, at least you'll be aware of it. And if you're aware of it, maybe you could do something about it. That consensus Gentium is going to be part, if not give birth to a movement of perception, of people using media more consciously, more deliberately, and more aware, particularly in storytelling and technology, which is affecting people on a whole new neurological level. We're going to move from the information age to an age of perception. We're also going to be moving into an age of total immersion, like I showed you in the video. Basically, media is going to fall into, there'll be a gray area in the middle, but two main areas. One of empowerment and one where people will disappear. So maybe if you're not, if you're insecure, or if you're not socially mobile, or just bruck, you might just want to stay in that world all the time. And there'll be economies in these immersive realities. There'll be jobs, there'll be lives.
How do we increase the numbers, especially amongst minorities? You being from England?
Yeah, my parents are from Jamaica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, well, I like that. So it's really interesting, and now I'm even closer to you because I had a long, deep conversation with Maxi Priest.
Okay.
About 6 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is he in Jamaica still?
He's still in Jamaica, but he's touring out here. And so we covered him and got an interview from him.
He's got the long
The long hair. Yeah, he's phenomenal. And he was so deep about the implementation of fairness in London and the under awareness of racism in London. A lot of us here in America don't realize how much racism is in London with blacks.
Type of racism
Right. And so with a woman who has a platform like you, with the type of knowledge that you are empowered to grow with, how do you see yourself really being able to be effective, not only in the UK, but certainly here in America?
Yeah, that's easy, man. So all I got to do is just live truth. Once I live truth, it's cool. You know, I just work hard, I'm fully focused, fully committed, and then whatever's supposed to come through me will come through me. So I just got to keep my heart very pure and keep it moving. So I'm a storyteller from the future, and I have stories to share with people. And they're authentic, real stories of what's going to happen. I've come here, my storytelling is a warning. And I need people to experience it today so at least they're aware of what's to come and they can't say they don't know. So when I did a talk. This year I really needed to connect with my people because I've been speaking about this shit for the past couple years. I just refined it more, okay? And what it is, say I was talking in Germany last year, a 2-day talk in AI, and I was the final speaker. And for those whole 2 days, I was not just the only person of color on the stage, I was the only person of color in the room. I'm not even talking black, I'm talking of color. And I said, you know what, this message is not cool or sexy enough for my own people to be a part of. So I need to step up my game and I need to bring it to the people because they're not coming to me. So that's why I'm happy to stand here and talk for 2-3 hours to people because these are the people that I need to connect with. These youths, they're not in the conversation and they're not in the game and they need to be pulling a chair up to the table of what's wanting. Otherwise, it's going to be too late when they realize.
Wow. The future of entertainment. I'll tell you a little bit about that before I finish the talk. So, 2020, I'm going to release Consensus Gentium. Consensus Gentium is going to be the immersive experience, the documentary from the future. I'm going to be using the same technology which is going to be used to surveil us and imprison us in the future to make you aware of how it's going to work through an immersive experience. Artificial intelligence, facial recognition, and AI.
So before we let you go, why don't you share with these viewers your background, your family, your struggles, the educational journey that you committed to be able to be the voice of the new era that we're going to take on if we're going to be participants. And we got to know, because when they see your story on our show, and keep in mind, when I first heard your name, I didn't know who you were. But by the time I researched you and I saw that the relevance that you bring to the society right now, if we don't put it into play, Karen, it's going to be shame on who?
Well, there's a few questions there.
One of empowerment and one where people will disappear. So maybe if you're not, if you're insecure or if you're not socially mobile or just bruck, you might just want to stay in that world all the time. And there'll be economies in these immersive realities. There'll be jobs, there'll be lives. People can stay in there and live in there. And there'll be other people like me who'll be using immersive media and technology and storytelling to empower people. So when you step into these realities, you come out and you're informed and you're aware.
Band. You've been wanting to get out there all night. You've been wanting to get out there all night. Let's go. Yeah, show them that footwork. Yeah.
Okay, what I wanted to say is that you're giving me this mantle of the voice. I'm one person in the struggle, okay? There's so many other people out there, and I have a voice. Okay, so the key things you need to know about me is that I was brought up, very fortunate to be brought up in a home of love by my parents and my family. And they taught me to understand and know myself. Fundamental to that is my color. So I was taught from a young age I need to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times better than the next white person in what I'm doing. So when I go into a situation, there's no doubt, blood, that I'm the best person for the job. So you need, telling us to wrap up, so I'm just going to finish this off, is that you need to kind of, it's important to kind of have love in what you're doing and love of self and to know yourself in order to do anything.
Data democratization. Data and AI democratization are going to become basically social justice and civil rights issues. Because the technology that's running this software and running these storytelling experience and running entertainment is something that we all need to have access to so that we can all benefit.
Wow. Well, I just want to thank you, first of all. Give me a handshake. Now give me a hug. And people, this is so powerful to be standing next to the next innovator of our history, world history, that it's an honor, and I'm so glad that AT&T brought us together.
I'm very appreciative.
And we're gonna have to stay in contact because there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say stand up while we take your
Now he's recording the episode.